at the very end of the show, when finally, and because now, well, that's left open too. Is Diggle gonna leave? Is he gone now because he's got the child, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It was very interesting because they did kind of set it up where Diggle seemed to have, he has some new priorities now, and I don't really know. It seemed like the team had. See, this is the thing with having Roy. It kind of threw off the whole balance of Oliver and then a Diggle and Felicity, and so I don't really know where he's going to stand on the show. And then I thought there at the end that Sarah was going to.
Yeah, I know.
That she was going to come back and kind of fill in for Diggle while he was on perhaps paternity leave, but I'm obviously that's not going to be the case after the final minutes of the show. But I don't know. I don't know where Diggle ends up after this.
Yeah, so that's the thing. They left that open, and also now with Sarah officially gone, one of the things is now I'm almost positive that Laurel will be the new Canary.
Yes, I think you're right.
So I think that had to happen. I mean, Sarah's character was, for the most part, was useless anyways. Personally, I mean, I know she was a canary, but wasn't a very interesting one, sort of thing. So she's gone. But the father getting chief and that sort of thing, I mean, that's all well and good. But you think I wouldn't show up to this and and just grab at his chest? He's like, "Ready to have a coronary?" He's like, "Oh, for Christ's sake!"
Well, how did they promote a guy with such obvious health problems, one? And two, what exactly are his health problems? Before he even had this heart episode, he was really struggling. And then what's going on? Why did he shave his head?
I don't know. I mean, they didn't explain that at all. But the thing that got me, too, is like that the whole scene where he's talking to Laurel. And he's like, "Why do you do this?" "Because you're my father." It's like, "Oh, no, he saw that one coming." It was one of those scenes like you could predict everything that was going to be said. But threw me through a loop when she said Dad. I was like, I was expecting father, but still on the right track.
Yeah, I know, right? Sometimes their dialogue gets a little bit repetitive, and I know they're father and daughter, and people are going to, you kind of have a repetitious, because you have such a close relationship, but that's one of the things between them that I feel like their dialogue could be sharper. I feel like it's very professional and kind of stoic for a father and daughter, and that's one of the reasons, just to hit back on the Flash, the father and daughter on that show had a lot more of a realistic repartee than Laurel and her father.
Well, exactly. And stay away from the new guy, blah blah, and I'll make sure I wanted you to be safe. Don't keep say my business, and I'll let him be sort of thing. And they, I love how they right off the hop they show the kind of the love story somewhat beginning, and then she kind of shoots him down without intention. He goes, "Oh, we're best friends, blah blah." I was like, "Yeah, right into the friend zone."
I know. That was sad for him. But I'm sure that they'll eventually find a way. Because the guy playing her boyfriend, the pretty boy guy, he was on Vampire Diaries last season, and he played a horrible. He was good as being the villain, but he played a really evil guy. So I'm kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop on him. And fun fact, he is the actor is the cousin of Hugh Grant.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see how that pans out. But with him, I think he will be evil though. There's just something about him right at the hop that you don't trust. So I'm sure the other show will drop. It just might take 2 or 3 episodes for it to happen.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I really hate that they got rid of the partner that Detective West had when the show first started out. The guy who said that was so funny. The thing where he said that was my father's last pin to me. The thing.
Yeah.
That guy was so funny, and him and the detective had such a good relationship and rapport, and so I was really bummed when they decided to kill him off. I thought that was a waste.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like they brought him in for no reason, and yeah, he picks up the possibly cow crap with his pen. Sorry, So, and the one interesting thing was the professor, when he goes in that room, is able to stand.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if it's only that room where he's able to stand, or it could be just a whole show. But I'm just he's up to something.
Yeah, he definitely is. And I thought they were gonna go for a whole Professor X kind of thing with.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking at first.
You
Like,
know?
I was hoping they wouldn't, but I kind of hope they kind of stay away from that. I mean, even though he's in a wheelchair, like, I mean, they can still do a few different things, but I hope they don't try to compare it, because right now, if you think about it, because Flash was DC and Spider-Man's Marvel, right?
Yes.
So if you think about it, they came out around the same time. Who does Barry Allen remind you of? Peter Parker.
It reminds me of Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So geeky nerd, right? Like so. It's so. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but yeah, it was both of them good. It was a good episode together, and I liked how they connected the two. Kind of both. I mean, obviously they had to start the Flash first, and then in order to come back to the Arrow at the end, showing him meet up with Flash, because they couldn't show the one and not show the other part of it.
Right.
So and it was good on them that they connected the two. So, but
I
yeah,
did enjoy that.
but yeah, it was pretty much the ending of the episode. Pretty much was the only thing I think kind of really exciting about it, because otherwise it was almost like back to his old vendetta. Kind of knock off the guys they're destroying the city. You've done this city wrong, and he knocks them out, and next guy up in the city is to be arrested, and so. They've seemed to have a lot going on, because now he's got the thing like, well, I don't want you to be in danger of publicity, because obviously the first date that there was the rocket that blew up the restaurant, and then after that, obviously Arrow gets hit by the V drug again, what's it called, the vertigo drug. And then he kind of fights past it, because now he realizes that his worst fear is himself, and he kind of sees through that and ends up patting this guy up. But that's just the start. I mean, he's just a precursor to Zoom.
Okay.
Well, that's my thought, because they're gonna have to bring Zoom in, and since he's dead, I'm assuming Zoom's gonna be coming in the next one. Which leads me to the next thing, which is with the professor. So if you notice when he was in that room, do you notice the yellow glow around him?
Yeah.
And remember when Barry's mother was murdered? There's a yellow glow.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. So he could potentially be Zoom.
Oh, I hadn't put that together. I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with the comic books as you are, so you're giving me some insight. I don't really know a lot about Zoom.
Well, I mean, I'm not right up on my Arrow comic, but I've kind of heard and read a little things, so it helps piecing together. But I'm nowhere close to being an aficionado on the Arrow comic book at all. It just stuff like bits and pieces I've kind of learned and kind of looked over and read. So, but that's my 2 cents. That's what I think that's going to happen. I think he will be Zoom.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, is Zoom the arch nemesis of the Flash and Arrow?
From what I gathered, yes. More or less Flash as opposed to Arrow.
Okay.
And there's one more thing. Actually, no. The character. Well, the guy who played Superman is on the show. Just remembered, I don't think he will be evil, because if I remember correctly, someone looked it up. I think he's part of the Justice League.
Oh, really?
So, if I remember correctly, so I don't necessarily think he'd be bad, but he's still gonna have kind of that bit of the pompous attitude, but which will make his character obviously. And they're not just gonna bring him in for one episode and not do anything because he's a star, right?
True, that is true. Yeah, he's a bigger name, so I'm excited to see what he does. I think it'll probably be a longer term arc, and he is definitely someone I read with the showrunner. They said that they wanted to bring in a character who could really have a banter with Felicity, because her character is, she's a little more, high energy, I guess you'd say, and so they kind of want to have someone who could talk tech back to her, and I'm not the most tech, efficient person, so when they were going back and forth, it was a little over my head, but I was like, man, these two people are smart.
Or, he's like, well, someone hacked my cell phone, my laptop, blah, blah, and was it Porcupine's farting?
Yes.
And then she goes, oh, and BT Dub, I check your tablet as well.
That was funny, and I love that she's a nerd, kind of a little bit uptight, but she can still cut loose and be very funny.
Well, I have to say when they went out to dinner, like I mean, I thought Pussy was a good looking woman to begin with, but wow, that was very impressive.
I I totally agree with you. Vavoom, she is very beautiful.
Wow, Vavoom Brit, really?
Yeah, Vavoom.
I haven't heard anybody say that in so long. It was
You're welcome.
oh yeah. It was that cartoon clip, where no, that the guy's banging the table on the chair. Was it the dog?
Yeah.
So
Well, you know.
no, that's so there's a lot to go in this season. I know it just started, but it looks like it's gonna be interesting, and I hope they kind of carried on like where they left off, and kind of make it a bit more developmental, meaning like kind of go further into the characters and like and let me a little bit more action, not kind of just the kind of opening kind of boring action. I mean, it was cool, but it was it didn't make the episode the way I'd hoped it would. So I'm hoping they carried on and really kind of dive into the characters' backgrounds a little bit more, at least the newest character. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there was one action sequence that for me it didn't really work. The thing where he and the guy throwing vertigo sticks,
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call him Berlin because he plays the same actor plays this character named Berlin on the Blacklist. So he was on there, and I get a little bit confused. But anyway, when they were doing their fight, they were up on that kind of grate, and there was this amazing fluorescent light shining up on them as they're having this fight sequence, and there's smoke. It was a little too over stylized for me.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, you got to go to a certain extent because they got to kind of keep to the dark quarters of the show, and and keep in mind that that these characters aren't superhuman and don't have like these cool powers. It's all kind of like we'll call it normal stuff, like Batman sort of thing.
Right, exactly. And I do think they were trying to maybe incorporate a little bit. I don't know if you noticed this, but when Oliver was walking with Laurel, and they showed him kind of walking, he kind of walked. His gait was, he was a little stiff. He was kind of, I don't want to say he was waddling, but he looked like he was a little bit in pain. I don't know if that was a choice by Stephen Amell to say, Arrow's a little stiff because he is doing things he's not superhuman, and kind of like what they did with Bruce Wayne in the last Batman movie. But
Right.
Did you notice that?
No, actually, I didn't. I'll have to pay attention next episode. I honestly didn't notice that at all.
All right. Well, maybe it was just I don't know if it was an acting choice or maybe Mr. Hamill was injured in the midst of doing a stunt, but he did seem a little bit. He seemed less fluid in his movement, if you will.
Yeah, I honestly didn't notice at all. So I'll have to keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a decent episode. Like I said, a little boring. Like it could have been a little bit more exciting for a season opener, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I will definitely agree with that. I think last season I really loved that season premiere. I felt like got things off to a good start, and then they end up losing momentum. Everything I was comparing to that premiere, it kind of lost momentum. So this premiere was, I think, a good place to start. I think it gives them a place to go up more as opposed to just kind of setting the standards, the bar so high in the premiere, and then having things kind of, drag off in terms of quality. So I felt it was a strong opening, but, I think they have a ways to go, like you said.
Oh, and plus they're tying this whole Hong Kong deal, right? So they're gonna have to go.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to go into more into that, and I just don't want another season of constant flashbacks.
That's me too. I don't either. I just feel like it takes you out of the entire flow of the present storyline, and there's very little tension because we already know, obviously, Oliver is alive, so he made it out. So there's no tension in those flashbacks. So for me, I would really, would you agree that you would like to see the show kind of just completely focus on a present storyline and do away with flashbacks altogether?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I would, because I mean now it's. Because that the island kind of added a little bit to the story, but they drug it out way too long. I would hope they would finish this up if they're gonna do this. Like they finish up quickly, like maybe a few episodes and kind of done. That part of it's wrapped up. Now they can build from that.
I totally agree.
So that's the Flash and Arrow. There were. I'm not sure there are any more premieres this week. At least if there were, I weren't. They're not shows I normally watch, but those